Hi, welcome to the EdPuzzle Training module. So let's go ahead and get started. What is EdPuzzle? Well, EdPuzzle is a way to take a regular video that students would normally just passively watch and actually make it much more interactive. It makes it so that students are having to engage with the video and actually pay attention in order to understand what they're seeing on the screen. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to, of course, go ahead and get to our webpage. And it's just edpuzzle.com, all one word. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create our account. So you can see that it does give you the option to create a teacher account, or you can create a student account. So for the teacher, we click on Teacher, Start Now. And what's going to happen is you can take a small little tour if you would like. You'll notice it's only 4 little slides. However, we're going to go ahead and skip the tour so that we can go ahead and get to the actual creation process. So what I would do is I would go ahead and enter in my credentials. Now, I already have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit log in. And so it's asking me, do I want to log in as a teacher or do I want to log in as a student? And I, of course, want to log in as a teacher. So my credentials come up and I'm going to go ahead and log in. So the very first thing that pulls up is my classes dashboard. So if I had classes built, which I can, you can see here that I can invite students, then I would build a class and I could add students to the class. Now, why would you want to build a class? Well, maybe you're teaching 2 or 3 different preps. And so you may not have a video that you're going to show to all of your classes. You may have a video that you're only going to show to a select few. So this would be a way that you could actually assign a video to particular classes. It's also a way to keep track of students that have taken the quizzes. You can actually give grades based on the quizzes that they've taken, all kinds of information that you can use and analytics that you can use to determine, okay, what have they, done? What have they learned? What are they, how are they doing? What we're going to do though is we're going to focus on how to create a video. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my content. So I click on my content, and so what I want to do is create a new video. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new video, and you see that the screen opens up and it has all kinds of videos on here. Well, these are videos that other users have made. So if you're interested in seeing if maybe someone's already made a video that fits your particular assignment, you can actually type in a keyword here and see if you can find one that's already pre-made. You'll also notice here that there are other places that you can go to search for videos. You do not have to use exclusively YouTube videos. So you can actually go to Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, and so forth to upload videos. So it kind of gives you a lot of different options here. So I already have a video picked. It's the one that we saw before. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm going to go back to EdPuzzle, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it into my search box. So I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And you can see that the video pops up. And you can also see that what we have now is we have 4 buttons that are at the top. So this is what we can do with our 4 buttons. The first thing we can do is we can crop a video. If I have a video that is 30 minutes long, for example, but I really only need 10 minutes worth of it, well, you'll notice that I can, of course, shorten the video from the beginning. I can also shorten the video from the end. Now, the other button that I have is audio track. What an audio track does is it allows me to actually record throughout the entirety of the video. Now, the thing about the audio track, though, is that I can't start and stop it. Once I start recording, then the recording will go for the entirety of the video. It does not allow me to just record sections of it. That would actually be for the audio notes portion. The audio notes portion will allow me to record notes in different sections of the video, and we will do that. And then the last portion that we have are quizzes. And so when we have quizzes, we actually have different kinds of quizzes. We actually have 3 different kinds. We can do an open-ended response. So if we actually want our students to type in a paragraph, a few sentences, but we can do open-ended questions. We can do multiple choice, and we can do more than 2 choices. You can see here where it says add answer. And then we can also put in written notes as opposed to verbal notes. Now, you'll notice that on the questions that we do have a number of things that we can do to the questions as well. We can, of course, bold, italic, and underline it. We can actually do subscripts for math problems. We can do hyperlinks. We can add images, and we can even do equations for math and science people. So it does give us a lot of flexibility when it comes to doing the different types of questions. So the first thing I want to do, though, is I want to crop crop my video because I already know that it's a little bit longer than I really want it to be. So I'm playing the video and I really want to, let's go ahead and fast forward this a little bit. I don't want all this. This is pretty much redundant, not really necessary. So I'm going to kind of cut this to where I want it to be. So I want my video to be at 3 minutes and 21 seconds as opposed to 3 minutes and 54 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my little cropper. And you can see in red, it's moving. And so I'm going to take it to 3 minutes and 21 seconds. And so that's where I want to crop my video. So now that my video has been cropped, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. All right, so that's all it takes to crop a video. If I wanted to crop it from the beginning, then I would actually move this little marker and I would move it to where I wanted to crop it, and then I would hit save again. So now that we're done cropping the video, now we're going to go ahead and start actually playing the video from the beginning. And I have some notes that I want to add, and I have some questions that I want to add. So the very first thing, so I'm going to go ahead and click audio notes. We're going to go ahead and start from the get-go. So we're going to have this go right back to the beginning, and we're going to hit play. So the video is going to go ahead and start playing as it normally would. And so you can see the timer is going right here. So if you're pretty familiar with your video, then you can, of course, just watch the video as it goes. Now, I want my video, I know that my first note is going to be at 43 seconds because, like I said, I'm pretty familiar with this video. So there we go, 43 seconds. And I'm going to go ahead and make my first note. So what I do is, in order to make a note on the video, an audio note, what I do is, you can see the microphone is right here. So when I click on the microphone, you can see that there's a little audio tab that's going up and down that's indicating that I'm talking. But of course, we don't want to have this conversation right now recorded. So I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to replay what I just said. When I click on the microphone, you can see that there's a little audio tab that's, but we definitely don't want that. So what I'm going to do is, you notice that I clicked remove last note because I didn't want that audio recording. And what that does is it, of course, removes the last note that I made. Now, there was another button here that says remove all notes. Now, I would really caution you against using that button. And the only reason why is because if you haven't saved recently, then you may end up losing a lot of information that you've already recorded. And we definitely don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button again, but I'm going to make a real audio note as I would if I were recording for a student. So let me go ahead and click the button. The AP exam costs $92, but prices are subject to change based on College Board's decisions. In dual credit classes, the partnering college will waive the tuition fees, but will still charge the regular college fees. For Lone Star College, the fees are $66 per class. So I go ahead and hit stop. You can see that my audio button is here. Let's go ahead and see if it recorded. The AP exam costs $92, but prices are subject to change based on College Board's decisions. In dual credit classes, the partnering college will waive the tuition fees, but will still charge the regular college fees. For Lone Star College, the fees are $66 per class. Excellent. So you can see that my note has been recorded, and so I can go ahead and continue with my lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and so you can see that it's continuing with the video. So the video is playing, and we're going to get to our section where we're going to ask our first question. So we can see here that we have some information about the tuition costs. This little guy's still doing some thinking. And now we have some information here, of course, about AP classes. All right, so interestingly enough, you can see here that I have some information about students having to take the AP test. Now, if I wanted to make sure that my student listened to the audio note that I made and that they were paying attention and weren't being distracted by their cell phone or TV or something else, I can go ahead and ask a question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on question. So what it's doing, it's going ahead and uploading my voice so it doesn't lose that note. And you can see that now it's changed to a green button that has a question mark. And so I'm going to ask a question. So I want to ask a multiple choice question. So I'm going to ask, how much is the AP exam? I just gave that information, so our students should know. So I want to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and boldface it. I'm going to put some different answers here. So I'm going to put $77. I'm going to go ahead and put $85, and then I want to add one more selection, and I'm going to go ahead and put the correct answer, which is $92. And so we know that this is correct, so we're going to put the check mark. We're going to mark this one wrong. And you'll notice here that I can actually put feedback. So I can put feedback for all of these, or I can put feedback for just one of them. So I'm going to add a little feedback here. College Board determines the fees, and they are subject to change. So now I have some feedback for my students. So once I have my question written, then I can go ahead and hit save. And you can see that here's what the question will look like. It gives here's the feedback, which they will not receive until after they've answered the question. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And so you can see that my presentation is continuing. So I have another audio note that I want to make about GPA ranking. You'll notice that it talked about GPA points here. Later on in the presentation, it talks about GPA points again. So I already know that I want to do an audio note. So I'm going to click on audio note. You'll see that it has switched to the little yellow button. I'm going to go ahead and skip this because that way you don't have to watch the whole thing over again to where I kind of need it to be. So I'm moving it forward a little bit. So we'll get to here. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And so you'll notice that now I have some information about GPA ranking. So I want to go ahead and make a note about this for any potential students that are watching this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the button again. The higher GPA points earned in advanced classes are applied to the weighted GPA used for class ranking purposes, such as determining top 10%. This scale differs per school. For college admission purposes, colleges will ask for the unweighted GPA, which is on the typical 4.0 scale. So you can see there that I've stopped my note, and I'm going to go ahead and play it just to make sure that it recorded okay. The higher GPA points earned in advanced classes are applied to the weighted GPA used for class ranking purposes, such as determining top 10%. This scale differs per school. For college admission purposes, colleges will ask for the unweighted GPA, which is on the typical 4.0 scale. Excellent. So my note has recorded, so I'm going to go ahead and continue with adding to my video. So you can see that it's playing. We're almost getting here to the end. So I have just a couple of more questions that I want to actually add to my video, just to, again, make sure that my student is paying attention, making sure that they are being, of course, an active watcher. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the question function. You can see that it's uploading my voice. The video is still playing. Okay, so it's loading the sounds. And so at this point, we can see that I have my final summation. So now that I've gotten to my final summation, I'm going to go ahead and ask my student, okay, well, explain, can't type, whether you would prefer taking a dual credit class or an AP class. No less than 3 sentences. So I can actually ask an open-ended question. So what's going to happen is that when my students get to this point, then they will actually have to type in a response. And if I had built and put this into a class, then of course I would be able to see this response and grade it. And based on their answer, I would be able to tell if they actually paid attention to the information that I just gave them. So I've given them my information. I have no feedback to add to this particular question. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And you can see that there's a box now that they can go ahead and place their answer into. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue because I am done with this question. Excellent. So my little guy is talking. We're getting to the end of our video here. So right here at this point, if I feel that my students might need more information, then I'm going to go ahead and click the question mark again. And you can see that this little bubble right here is where I can add comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some links to give my students some extra information. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of say, for extra information, click below. Oops. And I actually already have the links pulled up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the little add a link thing. And you'll see that it asks for the URL. It also asks for the text to display on the URL. So the first thing I have is I have information about AP. So I'm going to go ahead and this is the College Board website. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the URL. I'm going to go back to my EdPuzzle and I'm going to go ahead and paste that into the box. And I'm going to go ahead and say College Board website. And I'm going to put AP info. So when I hit OK, you can see here that it has a separate link that my students can click on to open up the website about for College Board. And it will open up in a separate tab, so you don't have to worry about losing your video. So now I want to go ahead and add information, though, about dual credit, because this is about AP and dual credit. So again, I'm going to go ahead and click Add a Link. And so the same box appears. You can see it says here the link will be open in another tab. And so again, I already have my URL selected. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that URL, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to EdPuzzle. Let's go ahead and paste that in there. And dual credit Texas, and so DC info. So now when I hit OK, you can see that I have my hyperlinks in here. So I go ahead and hit save. And so now you can see that it's given me a box that says for extra information, click below. And here are the links that my student can click to access the website. So I hit continue. And now my video is going to go ahead and finish out. And so now I'm officially done with recording my video with the extra information added. So what I want to do is, first of all, of course, I want to go ahead and hit save. And then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and hit finish. So I'm going to click on the finish button. And you have this box that comes up. So you have a couple of options, some things that you can do. The first thing is you can actually prevent skipping. So if you don't want your students to be able to skip any of the questions, you would actually click on this box. I do not want my students to skip any of the questions. I want to make sure they're paying attention. So I would go ahead and hit prevent skipping. You can also have a due date. So if you have a certain date that you want your students to have the video watched by and the questions answered, then you can go ahead and click on here and you can actually assign a due date. If you want to go ahead and add a class that you want to add the video to, then you can assign it to a class. Or in this case, because I am doing a training video, you can share with anyone. Now, what I would do is I'm going to go ahead and hit share with anyone. And you can see that it gives me a link so I can actually share it with my colleagues. So maybe I am creating this video and I want to share it with all of my other AP and dual credit colleagues. It also gives me an embed code. So if I have a website, I can actually go ahead and embed it and the student can watch the video within the website or the blog. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to later. And when I hit later, it actually takes me back to my content screen. And so now I have my video here, and now I can actually click on it and I can assign it and share it as I need or as I see fit. So this is a basic tutorial of EdPuzzle. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I do hope that you find this to be incredibly useful for your classes. Thank you very much.